God, aren't you tired of wearing these damn things? Hi boys! Welcome back to the channel, YouTube. I'm Navy Dad. This is Rusted Bolt's Garage, and I need a freaking haircut before COVID-19 lockdown. But I found a secret trick. There is a trick on YouTube where you can get your haircut really, really fast. You ready? Stand back, this could get dangerous. That'll make you dizzy. Much better, don't you think? Okay, if you can't have fun with social media, well, what's it for, right? You gotta do something a little goofy every once in a while. Okay, so this particular video got a little bit long, but there's a lot of information in here if you've never done this work before, because you can make mistakes and screw it up and then, you know, burn up a wheel bearing, and you want to do that because this is a pain in the ass to do. So, this video is a how-to on how to completely rebuild your rear wheel hub bearing and spindle. Rear wheel hub, yeah, that's right. Say that 3 times fast. So, go through the entire thing on how to do this with the knuckle off the car, because it's a lot more difficult and a little more time consuming to do it when it's off the car. But there are some caveats and things you need to keep in mind. This is actually my 92 knuckle. You'll notice that is the big brake upgrade rear dust cover. That's actually brand new from Mazda. I didn't know that at the time, and I tried to save the original one, which didn't go so well, as you'll see here shortly. But anyway, pay close attention, and hopefully you won't make any mistakes. I've made mistakes on doing these before, because you learn from your mistakes. So anyway, follow along. Here we go. Let's get started. Okay. So I'm doing a big brake upgrade, right? I decided I wanted to try and find the dust covers for the big brakes, which would be 03 to 05, any car. They all had the big brakes. And then I believe it's 01 and 02 with the S package. You got the big brakes. I found a guy parting out in 03 on Craigslist. So pinged him and I said, hey, do you still have these parts left? And he said, yeah, they're still in the car. You got to take them off. I said, okay. Be there around noon tomorrow. So I get there and he already pulled them off. And I was like, ah, crap. And it's so much easier to pull the hubs off with your slide hammer when it's still on the car. So you've already taken it off. But it's actually probably a good thing anyway, because there's 2 reasons that you really need to consider if you have an NA and you're going to use the big brake upgrade package from Sport Brakes or, you know, MB2. And that is these rear knuckles. And here's your NA, and then here's your MB2. And you can see the difference here in the dust shield, just how much bigger the brakes are. But this part is not the same. It is 5 millimeters wider. Now 5 millimeters isn't much. That's what, I don't know, 1/4 inch, a little over. Man, I think it's a little over 1/4 inch. But depending on the offset and the size, if you're going to use 15 by 8s, that little 5 millimeters can be really a problem, and it might have to, you know, force you to roll your rear fenders. I really don't want to do that. This is that's going to push this. So plus that, okay, so again, these are the rear spindles off my 92 Miata with 227,000 miles on it. You can still see black paint. Those are the original grease shields for the axle seals. They're still in great shape. The hubs themselves are still in great shape. There's no grinding, they're not loose, nothing. Well, this one, when it came off of there, neither one of them had grease shields on the back. And both the hubs are totally shot. So I am going to scrap these. Listen, here, can you hear that? Yeah, totally shot. So I'm going to scrap those in the recycle. I'm going to go ahead and just do the cut and bend on the rear dust shields on this. But I did get the dust shields for the front, so we will be going ahead and doing that. So what's next? Well, we got to start cleaning this stuff up and putting her back together. Yeah, we got a lot of work to do. I need a beer. Okay, so as you've seen, you know, on various other YouTube channels and on the forums and stuff, there's all kinds of different ways to do this, but you're pretty much going to damage that. Now, if you're building a race car, who cares? Cut them off, don't use them. Doesn't matter. I'm just that way. I want to keep them. So I think I've come up with a way to make a jig that will actually work and be able to press this out using one of those Harbor Freight presses. So we're back from Home Depot. And fits over that perfectly. So you can flip it over and put it in your press and press it out. But there's a catch. That right there. So when you put it in here, you've only got about maybe 1.5 to 2 inches before the studs hit that retaining, you know, that piece right there. So that's a problem. I could not find, and this is actually, if you do this, that is right at 5 3/4 inches, and this is 5 inches on the inside diameter. So it fits perfectly over here, and it's got enough room to when you start pushing it down, it's not going to damage this too bad. It'll bend it a little bit, but you can bend it back. So I got 2 of them, and I'm going to cut this off and then put them together and do. Okay, it only took a minute or 2 to hack through. Use a 12-inch blade rather than a little shorter one. Seems to work a little bit better. Doesn't have to be perfect. Let's go over to the press and try it out. Okay, so here we are, all set up and ready to go. So now what you want to do is you want to find a socket that matches the inner part. I'll show you that in a second here, but it matches the inner part of the hub itself, because you've got the bearing on the outer part right here. Okay, that's a little bit better. Now you can see 2 parts there. I'm sure you've seen these before. So the outer part right here, that is the actual bearing itself. Then this inner ring right there, that's the hub, and it's actually pushed into the bearing. So you want to find a socket that's close in size, that doesn't overlap or it doesn't get too tight, because then you get your socket stuck in there. So let's go ahead and get this set up here. You know, obviously safety first, put on your safety glasses and all that sort of thing. That is some really super thick, heavy duty PVC, so this amount of pressure isn't going to do anything. There you go, and that's all there is to it. It did compress the back of the tin a little bit, but you can straighten that out. That's not much to it. All right, next we got the bearing itself out. So come back here in just a moment. Ooh, jeez. Okay, so next thing we're going to do is get our handy dandy little snap ring pliers and pull the snap rings off. Why not just make them fly across the garage? And now we're going to press out the bearing. Okay, our tins are already pretty well crushed, so we'll just use the metal. It's going to bend it a little bit more, but you know what? It is what it is, right? And I may end up just cutting the suckers off anyway. My car's never going to be driven in the rain. It's not a race car. It's not a drift missile. It's just a fun car. Alright. Get this one. And there you go. While we're at it, here's a quick way to remove your knuckle bushings. First of all, take a razor blade and cut as much of this off as you can. Okay, so you want to get it like that as best you can. Okay. Okay, and this is the same socket that I use to push the bearing out. This is a 36 millimeter, and it'll fit on top of this collar right here, and you can push it out, and push it out about 3/4 of the way, and then you can pull the rest of it out. It'll stick in here a little bit, so what you want to do is put a little grease in here, and then stick it in a vise, and pop it right out. Let's go over to the press. And also, take and spray a little bit of PV Blaster in there, that'll help you too. Get it lined up. And that's probably good enough right there. There you go. We got that out. Now just go stick it in a vise and pop it out of the socket. All naked and ready for cleanup and paint. Okay, so we're all cleaned and taped up and ready to go. A couple things about if you're going to do this. A couple things you don't want to do. Don't get paint on the spindle. And anything that's pressed in like where the ball joints go, or the tie rods, or the bearings themselves, you know, or bushings. Don't get paint in there. And it probably doesn't really matter if you get a little bit in there, but you really don't want to get a lot of paint, you know, dripping in there, because that changes the tolerance. It's going to make it harder for you to get your part in and to get it out if you ever have to service it. So, you know, or think of the next guy anyway. Okay, so we've got our knuckles all cleaned up and painted and ready to go. And of course you saw that I kind of tried to save the brake dust covers, but that was a fail. But what I didn't know is, guess what? You can buy them brand new from Mazda. I didn't know that. Sorry about the wind there. Let's move over here. It's a little less windy. Yeah, so you can actually buy these brand new from Mazda. Now these are the sport brakes. These were only $31 each from my local Mazda dealer. So I was pretty happy about that. Now, of course, if you're building a drift car or a track car, you don't need these. Just cut them off and throw them away. Don't even worry about them. It'll make replacing hubs and bearings much easier, which of course race cars go through quicker. It is, actually that's the original color that came in. I didn't paint them, I clear coated them. Keep them from rusting a little bit, and why bother painting them? They look really good. Okay, so obviously, don't forget your safety goggles. I like to usually put a little bit of WD-40 in here and on the bearing itself. Don't use grease, because remember the tolerances are extremely thin here. So if you start putting a bunch of grease in there, you're just going to glop it up and make your job harder. A little bit of WD-40. Alright, set her in there. That guy on there. And look at that, it's going in like butter. Remember, you've got to take this all the way down to the ring on the bottom of the knuckle here. Yep. See how we're fully seated there, that ring? Now we can get our snap ring in. That's next. Alright, and last but not least is installing the snap ring. And I hate these freaking things, man. They always go flying. So, get in there. Get down there. Dang, there we go. And we're fully seated. I like to take a little a tack hammer and just kind of lightly tap it just to make sure it's fully slid into the groove, and it is. Okay, and next is installing our brake dust shield. Okay, just a word of caution before you go and install this. Couple different things if you've never done this before. So first, it's almost like a torque to yield bolt. This is pressed on, and it will stretch the metal as it presses onto this little area here, this lip. And so if you don't get it on right and you have to knock it off, it's going to stretch out. It's never really going to fit right again. It'll probably rattle, may come completely loose. So be really cautious when you put this on. What I'm meaning is you need to be very cognizant of where the brake mounts go. And I would actually use mine as a template. Whoops. I'd use mine as a template, but they're all painted and they're over my storage, and I don't have time to go get them right now. And so you do, if you haven't done it before, you might want to use that as your lineup. And then what we're going to do, let me grab this. Okay, to press this on, we're going to use, this is just a 3-inch PVC couple from Home Depot. Well, I can't read the skew, it's all skewed. I mean, it's real simple. It's a 3-inch PVC coupler. It's in the plumbing section of Home Depot. So, but look at that. Perfect fit. It's 3 inches. Actually, this is just a tad under 3 inches because it's, you know, metric. So we're going to put this on here. We're going to take this over to our press and we're going to slide that thing on. All right, again, sorry about the bleeping wind, but we have this all set up now. Measured. Well, I didn't really measure it. I guessed I measured because I've done this before. You do have a little play too also. Okay, there you see, it's nice, pushed around evenly all the way around that ring, no damage, didn't even scratch the clear coat. So there you go. Now we got to put the hub on. That's next. All right, before we get back into it, hopefully camera, yeah, I think that's lit well enough. Okay, you got to be really careful when you have, you know, again, this is off the car, when you press your hub into here, because if you press it in from the top, you risk getting the hub wonky, and if it starts going in crooked, you're screwed. And ask me how I know that. So anyway, then the other fact is when you do this, and I'll show you, I'll set it up here, you've got to be very careful that this is blocked also in the back, because which is what you can actually do is you can actually press out the race as you're pressing in the hub. So you got to be really careful. So I'll show you how to set it up, and this pretty much works every time. It's very easy to, you know, to push those suckers out. So let me get it set up over here. Okay, so you want to get this straight as possible before you start pressing, but you need to have something underneath like this. These are actually the other drifts like this. And because the reason why is if you start compressing this, all you're going to do is pop those studs out as you compress it down. Ask me how I know. Yeah, you learn by mistakes. So get this done here now, and then here is the again, this is the one of the drifts. This is 59 millimeter. Fits in there perfectly. All right, let's press this puppy in. So here we have it. Nice, smoothie, spinny. Everything's fully compressed in, no issues, no pushing out of that outer race. It's nice. We're gonna have some fun with this. There you go. Okay, well, our last part of putting this thing together is actually putting in the rear axle seal. Now, I cannot tell you how many cars I've taken apart, Miata specifically, in junkyards, pulling parts, parts cars, working on some other friends' cars. I'm taking this stuff off, and it's missing the rear seal. I mean, if it's a race car, drift car, it really doesn't matter, but if it's a street car, put the freaking seal in. It's not that hard. So you come over to your little Harbor Freight tool, and you find a little 72 millimeter, and you flip it upside down. And as you can see, it fits perfectly in there, because you don't want to have one that's too big and then pound this thing down and crush that rubber right there. You don't want to do that. So what I always do, I actually use synthetic marine grease because it's, you know, waterproof. Just take a little bit of this and dab it around the edge here. No, maybe a little bit more. You don't have to soak it and get it all gooey and nasty. And a little here. I had this for a long time, so it's probably gone up a little bit. I'd say it's less than 40 bucks though. Then take your mallet. I use this type, and And did you hear? Well, you probably can't hear in the video, but when it makes a hard clanking sound all the way around, you know you're fully seated. And it didn't take much. I'll do it. Okay, so there you are. It's installed. And then when you get ready to put your axle in, you want to grease that up pretty good. It doesn't need a lot of grease, but you don't want it dry, because as soon as you move the car for the first time, especially if it sits for a while, it could tear that, and you want that. So there we go. Okay, so now we're just going to get it back in here. It's all temporary until we get the rest of the stuff together. We'll just kind of get it all mocked up. It's going to be quite colorful under here, because I got the struts. They're teen, whatever the hell they're called, and they're like bright green. And then the brake lines, the steel braided brake lines, I made a mistake. I ordered those about a year ago, and they were not real expensive, but a good quality brand. And I never looked in the box, which is stupid. I just tossed them into my box so I have new parts. And I finally opened them the other day, and they're yellow. They were supposed to be red. Obviously, it's been a year, over a year actually, so I can't really return them, but it looked like a freaking Christmas tree under here. Okay, this is back in. Oh man, this is gonna be pretty cool. We got a long ways to go though. Okay, so this got a little bit long. I apologize, try to keep them shorter than that, but there's a lot of information in here if you've never done this type of thing before, because it is kind of a pain in the ass, and if you screw it up, you got to do it again. You don't want to do it again, because that's just a bad day. So, y'all take care. Boys, see you soon. Be safe. Wear your stuff and all that kind of thing as you go out into the world. And there's beer in that there refrigerator, and I need some right now. So y'all take care. See you next time.